Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan. Thanks for joining us again on Speak Up, the podcast where we help you become more confident and fluent in English, step by step. Today, we're diving into something a lot of people struggle with, putting in hours of study but still not seeing results. If you've ever felt like you study hard but don't get anywhere, you're not alone, and this episode's for you.
Hey everyone, I'm Priya. So happy to be here with you all. When I was learning English, I thought the more time I spent studying, the better I'd get. But the truth is, it's not just about how long you study. It's about how you study. I made so many mistakes early on, and I wish someone had told me the smarter way to do it.
Exactly. We've both been there. I remember spending hours reviewing grammar rules and still getting stuck in conversations. I was frustrated, tired, and honestly ready to give up. But once I started using smarter methods, everything changed. I could remember more and speak more naturally without spending my whole day studying.
And that's what we want to share with you today. If you've ever felt burned out or like your brain just isn't keeping up, don't worry, we've got your back. This episode is all about helping you study in a way that actually works, so you learn faster, feel more motivated, and actually enjoy the process.
So we've just talked about how important it is to make your study time actually work for you. And now let's get into the heart of today's topic. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan. Whether you're listening at home, during your tea break, or maybe on your way to work, we're so happy to have you here with us on Speak Up. This podcast is all about helping you learn English in a smart, simple, and stress-free way. And today's topic is one we all can relate to.
Hi everyone, I'm Priya, and I'm really excited for this episode. I remember back when I was learning English, I'd study for hours and hours. I thought if I just kept working harder, I'd get better faster. But guess what? That didn't happen. I still forgot half the stuff the next day. Have you ever studied for hours and felt like nothing stuck? If you have, then you're definitely not alone.
Exactly, Priya. That's such a common feeling, and it can be really frustrating. You put in the time, maybe even stay up late or give up your weekend, but it feels like you're not getting any better. And when that happens, most people think they need to work even harder. But what if the answer isn't more effort, but smarter effort? That's what we want to dig into today.
Right. Sometimes it's not about how much you study, it's about how you study. And honestly, once I realized that, everything changed for me. I started making progress faster, and studying didn't feel so heavy anymore. That's why this topic is so important, because we all want to learn English, but we also want to enjoy the journey and not burn ourselves out.
I totally agree. And here's the exciting part. We're not just talking theory here. We're going to share real tips, real techniques, and things that actually work. And here's a little teaser for you. Near the end of this episode, we'll reveal one powerful study method that can seriously cut your study time in half. No tricks, just something that most people aren't using yet.
Ooh, yes, that one's my favorite. But we'll get to that later. For now, let's take a closer look at why studying harder isn't always better, and how that mindset might be slowing you down without you even realizing it.
Okay, so let's be real for a second. A lot of us grow up hearing, study harder, study longer, don't stop until you're perfect. And while working hard is a good thing, sometimes it's not the best way to learn, especially when it comes to languages like English. You could spend 6 hours reading your grammar book or repeating vocabulary, but if it's not done the right way, it won't stick. And honestly, that's why traditional study habits fail.
Yes, exactly. I used to do that too. I'd sit with my notebook, write the same words over and over, and think, okay, I'm doing great. But the next day, I'd forget almost everything. That's because I wasn't really understanding it. I was just memorizing, not connecting. So even though I felt like I was working hard, I wasn't working smart. And that's where the big difference lies. Hard work without strategy can waste your time.
Here's a simple example. Imagine two students. One studies English for 6 hours straight, just reading and copying notes. The other one studies for just 2 hours, but they use active techniques like practicing sentences, asking questions, listening, and speaking out loud. Who do you think remembers more? It's usually the second one, because learning is not just about time, it's about quality and technique.
That's such a good point, Ryan. I also think people forget that our brains get tired. If you sit and study nonstop for hours, your brain just can't keep up. It's like trying to pour water into a full glass. It overflows. But when you study in smaller, smarter sessions, your brain actually gets time to absorb the information, and that makes all the difference.
Right, and it's not just about remembering words, it's about understanding how to use them. You could memorize 100 English words in one night, but if you never use them in real sentences or conversations, you'll forget them fast. Smart studying means finding ways to make learning stick, like using real examples, repetition over time, and speaking out loud. That's where progress really begins.
And you don't need fancy tools or long hours to do that. Just small changes in how you learn can help you see big results. So if you're feeling frustrated with your progress, it might not be your fault. It might just be that you're using an old method that doesn't work anymore. But don't worry, we're going to share some smarter ways to make studying easier and more effective.
Let's talk about something that most learners struggle with: time management for studying. Honestly, a lot of people think they don't have enough time to learn English, but the truth is, it's usually not about needing more time. It's about using the time you do have in a better way. That's what smart study is all about. You don't need to study for hours. You just need to use the right methods during the time you already have.
Yes, and one method I personally love is the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of it? It's really simple. You set a timer for 25 minutes, study with full focus, then take a short 5-minute break. After 4 sessions, you take a longer break. That's it. This method helps your brain stay fresh and avoid burnout. Even if you only have 1 hour a day, you can get more done using this than spending 3 hours distracted and tired.
I totally agree. The great thing is that these focused sessions train your brain to pay attention. We're all busy. Some of us have kids, jobs, responsibilities. But even if you only get 2 Pomodoro rounds a day, that's just 50 minutes, it can still move your English forward. And the key is consistency, not perfection. A focused 25 minutes is more powerful than a scattered 2 hours.
Exactly. And it's really about planning your English practice daily without burning out. For example, I always suggest learners break their tasks into small chunks, like Monday for listening, Tuesday for vocabulary, Wednesday for speaking. You don't have to do everything every day. Just do something small and focused. That's how you build a real habit.
That's such a smart way to do it. You can even set themes, like mornings for reading, evenings for speaking. Or use short sessions throughout your day, like 10 minutes before breakfast, 15 minutes during lunch, 20 minutes before bed. When you combine structure with flexibility, it becomes easy to fit English into your life.
Yes, and don't forget to make it fun, too. Use a study timer app, make checklists, or track your progress with stickers or a journal. These small tools make it feel like a game. And when studying feels good, you'll keep coming back to it. That's the real power of smart time management. It keeps you going without wearing you out.
All right, now let's talk about one of the biggest game changers when it comes to learning: active recall. Most people don't even realize they're studying passively. You know, just reading a textbook, highlighting words, or watching a video and thinking, yep, I get it. But the truth is, your brain doesn't really learn that way. It just feels like you're learning because it's easy. But easy isn't always effective.
Exactly. Passive reading or watching feels good in the moment, but it doesn't help you remember or use what you learned. That's where active recall comes in. It's one of the most effective study methods out there. It means pulling information out of your brain, not just pushing it in. Like asking yourself a question and trying to answer it without looking at your notes. It sounds simple, but it's super powerful.
One of my favorite ways to use active recall is with flashcards. You can write a word on one side and the meaning or an example sentence on the other. Then quiz yourself. And it's even better if you try to say the answer out loud. You're not just memorizing, you're training your brain to retrieve the info. That's what builds long-term memory.
Oh, yes. And another trick I love is teaching someone else. If you can explain a word or a grammar point to your friend, or even to yourself in front of the mirror, you really understand it. That's a fun way to turn passive study into active learning. You don't need a classroom, you just need your voice and a little confidence.
Totally, and if you're studying alone, try this. After reading a short passage or learning 5 new words, close your book and try to summarize out loud what you just learned. No peeking, just talk through it in your own words. This forces your brain to think and recall, and that's when real learning happens. Remember, if you can't say it, you probably don't know it well yet.
So true. That's why we always say, don't just read words, quiz yourself, say them, write them. If you're learning new vocabulary, try using it in a sentence, or write it in your diary, or record yourself saying it. These small actions turn passive input into active output, and that's how you grow in English, one word at a time.
Okay, let's talk about motivation. We all know it's easy to say, I'll study English today, but then what happens? You open your book, scroll on your phone, get distracted, and nothing really gets done. That's where small, clear goals come in. These little goals give you something to focus on right now, and that's how you build study habits that stick.
Exactly. A big goal like become fluent in English is great, but it can feel far away. You need tiny steps that lead there. So instead of saying, I'll study today, say something like, I'll learn 5 new words before lunch. That's a micro goal. It's simple, it's clear, and when you do it, you feel successful. Those little wins build confidence and keep your study motivation strong.
And here's something cool. Small wins actually rewire your brain. Every time you complete a tiny goal, your brain gets a hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical. It tells your brain, hey, I'm making progress. And that feeling makes you want to keep going. So the more tiny wins you get, the more motivated you feel.
Yes, I used to struggle with big study plans. I'd say, today I'll study grammar for 2 hours, but I'd get bored after 15 minutes. Now I say, I'll study 1 grammar point and use it in 3 sentences. That's it. And when I do it, I feel good. And that good feeling helps me come back the next day. That's how habits grow, 1 win at a time.
And it's not just about vocabulary or grammar. You can set small goals for listening too, like I'll watch a 3-minute English video and write down 3 new words. Or for speaking, I'll say 1 sentence out loud every hour. These goals are short, clear, and easy to complete, but they really add up over time.
That's the secret right there. Don't wait for big success. Focus on small steps every day. They create a path. You'll feel proud, you'll build momentum, and English won't feel like a chore anymore. So set your micro goal today, just 1, and celebrate when you complete it. You're moving forward, and that's what matters most.
Let's talk about one of my favorite smart learning hacks. It's called the Pareto Principle. It's also known as the 80-20 rule. And here's what it means. 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. So if you apply that to English learning, you should ask, what's the 20% that gives me the most results? That's where study prioritization becomes super important.
Right. A lot of learners waste time trying to learn everything at once. But if you focus on the most useful things first, like high-frequency English words, you'll get better results faster. For example, words like go, get, make, want, and need show up in almost every conversation. These are the words you'll hear and use all the time. So why focus on rare vocabulary you'll barely see?
Honestly, I used to make that exact mistake. I spent hours trying to understand complicated grammar rules like the third conditional or passive voice in formal writing. But in real conversations, none of that came up. What I really needed was the ability to talk about my day, order food, or describe how I feel. Once I realized that, I started learning differently, and it made a huge difference.
That's such a good point. It's not that grammar isn't important, but if your goal is to speak and understand daily English, start with what you'll actually use. Prioritize everyday topics, greetings, questions, small talk, directions. Learn the things that help you survive and connect. That's smart learning, not just busy learning.
Exactly. You can even apply this to listening practice. Don't just watch long news reports, watch short real-life dialogues like shopping conversations or workplace chats. Focus on what matches your real-world goals. The more targeted your practice, the faster you improve. That's what the 80-20 rule is all about, doing less but gaining more.
And the best part? You'll feel results quicker. You'll start recognizing words in shows, you'll understand more when someone talks to you, and you'll feel confident speaking. All because you studied what matters most. So always ask yourself, what's useful for me right now? That question can change your whole learning path.
Finally, let's talk about flat out one of the best study tips I've ever used. And honestly, it might surprise you. It's called interleaving. Sounds fancy, but it's actually really simple. It means mixing different skills or topics when you study, instead of doing the same thing over and over. And trust me, this one trick helped me remember more with less effort. It's one of those study smarter methods that really pays off.
Oh yes, I love interleaving. A lot of us were taught to study one thing at a time, read vocabulary for an hour, then do grammar the next day. But the brain learns better when you mix things up. With the interleaving study technique, you practice different skills, like reading, writing, listening, but in small pieces. It actually helps you think harder, make connections, and remember more.
Here's how I use it with English. On Monday, I focus on speaking. On Tuesday, I switch to listening. But each day, I briefly review the skill from the day before. That's interleaving. You're never ignoring anything. You're just rotating focus. That kind of rotation keeps your brain active, and it makes your memory stronger. It's a smarter method that builds long-term skills without burnout.
And you can do this even with short study sessions. Let's say today you learn new vocabulary for 15 minutes. Then tomorrow, do 15 minutes of listening, but use the same words. Then the next day, write a few sentences using them. See what happened there? You've hit the same words in 3 different ways. That's interleaving, and it's why it works so well.
Exactly. It's the opposite of cramming. Instead of forcing your brain to absorb a ton of info at once, you're giving it space to learn smarter. You'll not only remember more, you'll be able to use it better. Interleaving builds skill and confidence. And that's what we're all aiming for, right?
Absolutely. So if you want to double your results without doubling your study time, start mixing it up. Try the interleaving study technique even in small ways, and watch how much better your learning becomes. It's smart, it's simple, and it works.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Speak Up. We hope you enjoyed learning how to study smarter, not harder. These methods aren't just theories, they're practical, real-life tools that anyone can use, starting today.
Yes. Whether you're learning English after work, on weekends, or just squeezing in 10 minutes a day, these smart strategies can make your time count. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
We truly appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow, share this episode, and leave a comment if you found it helpful.
And remember, every small step counts. Keep going, keep growing, and, as always, speak up and speak with confidence. See you next time.